Very good evening to one and all. IEEE Malabar Subsection and IEEE Malabar Hub jointly present before you the 70th session of the webinar series, Physical Layer Aspects in 5G. It's my honor to welcome a beloved speaker of the day, Dr. CHVMSN Pavan Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, Baptala Engineering College, Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Pavan Kumar has a total experience of 5.5 years of teaching and 2 years of research experience. He completed Doctorate of Philosophy from Central University, Puducherry, and prior to that, he completed MTech in Communication Engineering and Signal Processing from Acharya Nagarjuna University, Guntur, and BTech in Electrical and Communication Engineering from Churala Engineering College. He published several research papers, book chapters, and also attended various national conferences. He is a winner of Young Research Award in the year 2020 to 2021 and won Best Project Award in Technotial 2009, a national level project exhibition contest. Once again, a warm welcome to you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Amrita. Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Pavan, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, Babatla Engineering College. I am here to discuss about the physical aspects in 5G. Am I audible?
Yes, Pavan.
Can I share my screen, sir?
Yeah, you can share it. Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay. Okay. So we can start our session. So the topic is physical layer aspects in 5G. So the presentation will go in this manner. So we are going to discuss about the why we have to discuss about the physical aspects, especially 5G. What is the motivation behind this? What are the challenges for the present mobile communication networks? Say a roadmap from first generation to fifth generation mobile networks. So in the OSA model, what are the layers available? So what are the functionalities of that? So especially we are going to discuss about the physical layer issues here. So what are the technologies which is supporting for physical layer in 5G? So how to handle the interference in case of small cell networks? And we are going to conclude the session. So if you see, start from 1979 to today, so there is a lot many mobile communication standards came, start from 1G to 5G. So really, is it necessary to discuss these many mobile communication standards? So we'll answer this question after a meanwhile. So you can see the total number of smartphone users in the worldwide. Start from 2012 to 2021. So this is a statistics is saying that nearly 4.1 billion users are there right now. So it is an exponential growth. This is the number of smartphone users throughout the world. If you see the number of smartphone users in India itself from 2013 to 2019, so there is a drastic change. So you can see the growth from here 2015 onwards. There is a drastic change. Nearly 317, nothing but 3 billion users are there in the 2019. So at the same time, you can see the statistics. The m-commerce. So mobile commerce, India is leading in the entire world. At the same time, entertainment capital of the world. So entertainment resources also only India is using and compared with the remaining countries in the world. So this is showing the statistics that there is a need of data traffic. So you can see the smartphone users also, smart gadgets. So you can see the smartphone users, tablets and other smartphone devices and feature phones. So you can see the growth of this one and the prediction. So in 2030, it is going to be 12.1 billion users are going to come. This blue color is indicating that smartphone users, and this one is tablet users and other phones. You can see the there is a saturation in the normal phones, feature phones. So there is a drastic decrease in the feature phones. At the same time, you can see the mobile traffic also, data traffic. I am speaking about the data traffic. You can see this one. This purple color is indicating that fixed wireless access. Fixed wireless access, it may be 3G, 4G or 5G. So this one is indicating about the 5G traffic, and this yellow color is indicating that 2G, 3G or 4G traffic. So you can see the prediction over from 2015 to 2026, there is exponential growth in the data traffic also. This one is explaining in terms of exabytes per month. So here nearly 300 exabytes per month we are going to use. Per month itself we are using nearly 300 exabytes. So this is showing the statistics that there is a need of high-end mobile communication standards which are supporting high-speed data traffic. So to serve these many users at the same time to serve these many data rates, right now what is the possible solution? So the spectrum is limited. With the available spectrum itself, we have to allocate more number of users. How it is possible is, so there are several possibilities are there to increase the spectrum as per the Array Communication survey. So they are saying that every 30 months there is a double in the capacity of the wireless capacity from the past 1 or 4 years. Every 30 months the wireless capacity has been doubled. So how to satisfy this much capacity demand? So you can see here we are going to improve the wider spectrum, nothing but we are going to use the new spectrum. Because of the new spectrum we are going to get 25 times of your capacity. If you are using the smaller slices spectrum, we are going to divide into slices. Because of that we are going to get 5 times of the capacity, and if you use better modulation techniques, we are going to get 5 times of wireless capacity. But you can see this one, the last one, by decreasing the cell size. If you are decreasing the cell size, there is a drastic change, that is 1600 times of your wireless capacity is increasing. So if you are decreasing the cell size means we are moving towards the small cells. So traditional cells are called as macro cells. So we are moving towards the mini cells, nothing but micro cells, at the same time picocells and femtocells. We are going towards the small cells. That too, ABI research is showing that 50% of the voice calls and 70% of the data traffic is originated from the indoors only. So compared with the entire traffic, 50% of voice calls and 70% of the data traffic is generated from the indoors itself. Out of this, 30% of the business traffic and 45% of the household users are experiencing poor indoor coverage. We are speaking about 2G, 3G, 4G and 5G. Still we are speaking about the coverage problem. So that is the technical challenges we have to address this. So you can see the comparison from 2G to 5G. So in the first generation, we are using the analog technology. So from the 2G onwards, we came to the digital. So in the 2G, this will be divided into two parts. The systems based on the GSM and the systems based on the CDMA. So you can see the GSM, this is a European standard. The CDMA is a American standard. So the data rates are around 10 kbps. It is going to support only voice calls. At the same time, CDMA also providing same data rates, but it is using the spectrum concept. It is also providing only voice calls. So later 2.5G came with the GPRS technology. This is the first technology which is providing data into the mobiles. So with this, you can able to provide up to 50 kbps of speed along with your voice traffic. Some type of basic data services are possible here. So next we have 2.75Z, nothing but edge technology. So the name itself indicating edge stands for enhanced data rates for GSM evolution. You can see here. Here the data rates are around 200 kbps. So this is also serving voice as well as data traffic, basic data services. Next, when we are moving towards the 3G systems, so this 3G is completely based on CDMA technology. So in case of this one, we are having similar two types of standards. One is based on GSM, another one is based on CDMA. So this is WCDMA, also called as UMTS, wideband CDMA or UMTS. So it is providing a data rate up to 384 kbps. This is approximate values. So it may support a video calling. So this example is giving that the data demand. So we are in a position to serve video calling now. So at the same time, the CDMA based system, CDMA 2000 also came into picture. This is also providing the same data rates. So next, 3.5G came, high-speed downlink packet access, at the same time, high-speed uplink packet access. So these are providing a data rates up to 30 Mbps. So along with your video calling, we are in a position to provide video conferencing also. So later, the CDMA based system, 1x CVDO came, it is also providing the same data rates with the same applications. Next, if you see the 4G systems, so this is also classified into two things. One is based on LTE, another one is based on WiMAX. So like as 3G, how we have said that 3G is based on CDMA, this complete 4G is based on OFDM technology. OFDM stands for orthogonal frequency division multiple access. So the data rates has been increased up to 200 Mbps. So online gaming and HD TV also possible here. So this is the IEEE standard WiMAX. This is the 3GPP standard. So you can see the features of LTE. LTE is the most popular. That is what we are using today. That is 4G. So it came to the market in the year of 2008 itself. So it is coming with several features. Briefly, we'll see the features of LTE. So it is providing the scalable bandwidths. It is not a fixed bandwidth. It is providing the scalable bandwidths. Start from 1.4 gigahertz, megahertz, 3 megahertz, 5 megahertz, 10 megahertz, and 15 megahertz and 20 megahertz. So based on that, the resource blocks will be allotted. So one resource block is equal to 12 subcategories. So each subcategory is of 15 kilohertz. You can see here 6 resource blocks here, 15 resource blocks here, like that. A maximum of 100 resource blocks if you are using 20 megahertz bandwidth. So the maximum bandwidth is possible is 20 megahertz. So with the 20 megahertz bandwidth, how much data rate is possible here you can see. With the 20 megahertz bandwidth, 2x2 MIMO we are using here. So we are in a position to provide 150 Mbps of downlink speed. At the same time, if you are increasing the MIMO capacity to 4x4, we are in a position to provide the data rate up to 300 Mbps. So similarly, if you see the downlink, it is only 75 Mbps. So in case of 4G, in downlink we are using OFDMA, orthogonal frequency division multiple access. In case of uplink, we are using SCFDMA, single carrier frequency division multiple access. So these are the modulation schemes we have used here. QPSK, 16 QAM and 64 QAM. Depends upon the requirement, we are going to select the modulation scheme. If the modulation scheme changes also, the data rate will be varied. So with MIMO or without MIMO. If there is no MIMO, then the data rates are less. If you are including the MIMO concept into this, the data rates has been increased. Now you can see the 3GPP releases start from release 8. So this is a release 8 related with LTE. It came into the market in the year of 2008. So later the modifications came, that is 2009. So the LTE advanced. LTE advanced is the advanced version of your LTE. It came into the market in the year of 2012 with the release of 10. 3GPP is the organization, nothing but forum, which is taking care of the licenses of your mobile communication standards. Third generation partnership project. So here some advanced features are introduced, that is carrier aggregation, coordinated multi-point transmission, mission-to-mission communication, like that. Some extra features we have added. So based on that, release to release, 3GPP is giving the more amount of services. So release 11, release 12 came. So you can see the comparison over here, release 8 and release 10, nothing but LTE and LTE advanced. So the data rates, downlink is maximum 300 Mbps here. In case of LTE advanced, it is possible up to 1 Gbps. Actually, the target given for LTE is 1 Gbps. We are not in a position to service 1 Gbps in the LTE, but we are providing that 1 Gbps speed in the LTE advanced. If you see the uplink, here we are providing 75 Mbps speed only. In case of here LTE advanced, we are in a position to provide 500 Mbps speed. So similarly, you can check the spectral efficiency also. So what are the frequency bands we are using for LTE? So these bands are same as your 3G bands, nothing but UMTS bands. So these are the uplink bands, these are the downlink bands. So these are the supported bandwidths. Scalable bandwidths are available in LTE. So in which band, what are the bandwidths available? So majority of the countries, they are using this band 3 in the downlink, at the same time band 7 in the downlink. So in India, we are using this band 3. So 23% of the world is using this band, 26% of the world is using this band. So these are the more popular bands compared with remaining bands. You can see here, these are the lowest bands, nothing but analog TV bands. So the bands which are allotted for analog TVs, now it is empty because of the digitalization of the TVs. So these bands also we are using for LTE. Now you can compare the LTE with LTE advanced. There is a change in the data rates. At the same time, there is a change in the capacity. At the same time, there is a change in the throughput also. So from LTE to LTE advanced, nearly 1.4 to 1.7 times improvement is there. So I have compared already this speeds and all, spectral efficiency and all. Now we are seeing the capacity comparison as well as throughput comparison. Cell edge user throughput. This is not cell middle user. This is a cell edge user throughput. So still we are suffering with coverage problem. So we are discussing about 4G. Still we are getting the coverage problem in the indoors. Nothing but apartments or office or apartment cellars. So we are getting the indoor coverage problem. So how to solve this indoor coverage problem in the 5G? So we are going towards the 5G. Already 5G phones came into the market. Still 5G deployment was not done in India, but so many companies have started selling the 5G phones in India. So what is meant by 5G? Is there any just improvement in the data rate? So you can see here, not an evolution of 4G. So it is not the next version of 4G. It is more than that. So what is meant by 5G then? So it is nothing but connecting everyone, connecting the objects also, eco-friendly, nothing but environmental friendly. It is supporting the green communication. So this is a reactive, at the same time fast also. How we are going to say this? So we have to see the specifications given for 5G, then we can come to these points. So you can see here. So 100% coverage. So now only we are discussing about the coverage problem. When we are in the apartment cellars or indoor offices, in the indoor buildings, we are not getting the service. But the target given for 5G is 100% coverage. Wherever you are, you have to get the service. So what is the data rates given for 5G? It is starting from 1 Gbps to the 10 Gbps, that to peak data rate per user. This is the peak data rates, minimum 1 Gbps, maximum of 10 Gbps. What is the latency given is only 1 millisecond latency, nothing but round trip delay. So within 1 millisecond, your call has to be connected. So we have to connect with the base station. The base station has to establish the call within 1 millisecond. So this is the data density per kilometer, nearly 10,000 Gbps we are going to use. At the same time, how many devices we are going to use is per kilometer, we are going to use 1 million devices. Even you are using 1 million devices, you have to get this much of data rate. That is the target. You can see the service support, the speed 500 kmph. So nothing but more than the bullet train speed. So the bullet train speed itself 350 kmph. So they are saying that 500 kmph, we have to provide this much of data rate. Right now, our trains are traveling with a speed of 70 to 90 kmph. Still, we are getting a service problem. But what they are saying, in case of 5G, we are traveling with a speed of 500 kmph, even though we have to get the speed up to 1 to 10 Gbps of speed. At the same time, we have to reduce the energy also. So we are saying about advantages. At the same time, we are going to reduce the energy reduction also. So normally we have to increase the capacity of the battery, but they are saying that there should be a reduction in the energy usage. At the same time, network should be available 99.99%. Always your network has to be available. So these are the targets given for 5G. Whether this much is possible at a time or some of the features they are implementing, so that we'll see. So what are the technologies which are supporting to provide this much of data rates? So we are saying about small cells, nothing but we are reducing the cell sizes. New RAN, random access networks, new type of random access networks we are using here. Massive MIMO. So in case of 4G, we have discussed about 4x4 and 8x8. So we are discussing about massive MIMO, nothing but 512 by 512, 1028 by 1028, like that. We are discussing about the massive MIMO in case of 5G. So with this number of antennas, it is possible to provide beamforming. So we are not in a position to provide omnidirectional antenna pattern here. We are going to provide the directional antenna pattern. So we are going to identify the user and we are going to provide the service to the user. Next, we are discussing about the coordinated multi-point transmission. So we are going to provide the coordination between the multi-points. At the same time, your OFDM is not supporting because of the problems in the OFDM. The main problems in the OFDM is PAPR problem, peak to average power ratio problem. At the same time, channel interference, inter-channel interference problem. So that's why we are discussing about the non-orthogonal multiple access. This is a new radio technology in case of 5G. This is a new radio. So again, we are discussing about the cognitive radio. Cognitive radio means we are going to sense the spectrum in every location. So whatever the frequencies are left over in this location, I am going to use those frequencies for my applications. So there are a lot many issues when you are implementing each and every technologies. Each one is one research area. If anyone is interested, you can start doing research in these areas. So at the same time, this cognitive radio is possible because of this software defined radio. So this is providing the hardware support for your cognitive radio. So in case of 5G, so we are going to use software defined radio. Whatever the RF we are using, that RF is becoming software now. So that is possible because of the software defined radio. So now you can see the releases from 15 to 17. Previously you have seen the releases up to 12. So later on, in new releases came from the 3GPP. So that is release 15, release 16 and 17. So these are the releases related with the 5G new radio evolution. So what they are discussing about? In case of 15, they are saying about scalable numerology. So we have to reduce the sizes. At the same time, beam-based air interface. So instead of using omnidirectional, we are going to use directional over here. So we are saying about Gbps data rates with millimeter wave technology. So the spectrum is not available right now. So whatever the spectrums which are available in the microwave band, already it was occupied with some other applications. So if you want to provide this much of data rates, we have to switch on to the new band, that is nothing but millimeter wave band. So we'll see what is the range of millimeter waves in the next slides. So here we are going to use the millimeter wave frequencies to provide Gbps of data rates. At the same time, mini slot for low latency. So the latency has to be minimized. In case of 4G, the latency is 10 milliseconds. Here we have to minimize to 1 millisecond. So that is possible with minimizing the slot duration. Next, if you see the release 16, here we are discussing about the industrial IoT. IoT is nothing but Internet of Things. In case of 5G, we are discussing about device to device communication, machine to machine communication. So we are going to work with many sensors. So those many sensors should be connected via internet. So those communication between these sensors has to be accurate. So that is the target here. That is the challenge also. So here in case of release 16, they have given that industrial IoT and private networks, integrated access and backhaul. How to handle the backhaul? So nothing but what is the replacement for your OFDM? So non-public networks. At the same time, 5G new radio, nothing but unlicensed band. So till now we are discussing about the licensed band. So they are saying that, so how to use unlicensed band also for case of 5G. So if unlicensed band is available, you can use for unlicensed band. For voice calls, also now we are routing via data only. So after 4G, Vivo LTE, voice over LTE, we are routing our voice calls also via data only. So now we are switching from, already switched from circuit switching to packet switching. That's why we are getting the more voice call problems now. In case of packet switching, if any packet is lost, that's all. There is no retransmission. In case of circuit switching, there is an acknowledgement. If any packet is lost, there should be a retransmission. But in case of packet switching, there is no retransmission. That's why nowadays we are getting the voice call problems more because of the Vivo LTE. That's why the subscribers are providing the free of cost the voice calls. So they are using the data only for the voice calls also. In case of release 17, we are discussing 3GPP is discussing about massive IoT, NR Lite. So here they are going to use new radio light foundation. Similarly, they are discussing about the drones, public safety, non-terrestrial networks, enhanced industrial IoT. Already here they have discussed about industrial IoT. Here they are discussing about the enhanced version of your industrial IoTs. So now recently release 18 also came, I think. So same, this is 15, 16 and 17 if you compare. So here we are providing enhanced mobile broadband services, a core network of your 5G, how to integrate LTE with your 5G, backward compatibility. So here we are discussing about the new band, that is sub 6 GHz band. So we are not going into the millimeter wave exactly, but we are using the higher bands compared with your microwave bands. Sub 6 GHz band we are using for massive MIMO, advanced channel coding techniques. So this is related with the physical layer. Here we are using the mobile millimeter waves. Instead of using microwaves, we are using the millimeter waves here. Scalable OFDM. We have not using the OFDM. We are using the variant of OFDM, that is scalable OFDM as an area interface. Flexible framework. So next, if you come to the release 16, here we are using the enhanced mobile broadband services. Similarly, massive IoT, new radio technologies, unlicensed spectrum, positioning across the cases. So like this, they have given the new technologies for release 16 and release 17. So there's a modification version of each and every release. So you can see that here they are using the new spectrum in the 52.6 GHz band. So again, enhancement for your 5G new radio with industrial IoT. Already we have told about. Release 17 is discussing about the industrial IoT. Light communication they are planning to use centimeter accuracy, unlicensed spectrum across the all cases. So like this, they have given the some modifications from release to release. So these are the spectrum which we are using for 4G millimeter wave frequencies, 1 GHz to around 2 GHz. Already I have shown the spectrum. 1.8 GHz, that is the band 3 we are using in India. 2.6 GHz, that is one more popular band they are using in the entire world. Around 26% of the world is using. So that is the band given for 4G. So, but you can see the millimeter wave frequencies here is in the order of gigahertz. In case of millimeter wave, there are more problems because when we are moving for higher frequencies, the absorption rate will be more. Because of the absorption, so the we cannot able to transmit the signal for longer distance. So that's why in case of 5G, now people are discussing about sub 6 GHz band. So this is somewhat lesser band compared with your millimeter wave band. So these are the bands they are using for 5G. So within a single slide, if you want to say what are the technologies which is supporting for 5G, this is the technologies. So you can see the conventional base station. In that base station, we are going to use multiple number of antennas with the sectoring concept. So I think you can see the base stations right now. So they are having multiple antennas in the different sectors. So we are discussing about massive MIMO. So multiple antennas should be incorporated in the base stations. So with that, multiple antennas, you can able to provide beamforming. You can see the base station over here. We are providing the beamforming. We are discussing about the millimeter wave, which is required for 5G. At the same time, we are saying that machine-to-machine communication should be possible, has to possible. Similarly, device-to-device communication, Internet of Things. We have to connect all the devices via internet, smart grids, smart homes, smart TVs, everything we are saying about smart. So everything has to be connected via internet. So here we are saying about IOV, Internet of Vehicles. We have to connect vehicles via internet. That we are discussing about the driverless cars, nothing but Google cars. Without driver, we are using the driving systems now. So because of the more sensors, these sensors has to communicate between them very frequently. So the data transmission should be accurate. So similarly, we are saying about moving cells. So I have already told you we have to provide nearly 500 kilometer speed the data connectivity. So that is possible with moving cells. So instead of fixed cells, we have to incorporate moving cells here. And then dense small cell networks. Along with your macro base station, we have to incorporate small cells also. Nothing but microcells, picocells, femtocells. All these cells we have to incorporate. So we are going to establish the heterogeneous networks here. So instead of using traditional CDMA and all, here we are using the SDMA, slot division multiple access. So we are going to provide based on the slots because we are providing the beamforming. So there is no omnidirectional antenna pattern here. So we have to provide slot division multiple access here. So you can see here millimeter wave broadband. So the antenna size, nothing but cell set size has been reduced. So when we are moving for higher frequencies, the size of the antenna should be reducing. So we are going to reduce the number of antennas, nothing but number of base stations. We have to increase the number of base stations also. The reason is we cannot able to transmit the signal for longer distance. So we have to establish more number of base stations. Then only you can able to provide the service to the users. Again, we are saying about the change in the RAN. So there is a split in RAN. So control panel and user plane. We are going to divide it. Split plane we are using here. Previously, we are going to use same plane for control information and user information. Here we are using separate planes for control plane and user plane. So at the same time, we have to use cloud also. So we are using the cloud technologies also. So these all the technologies are supported, needed to establish the 5G communication. So you can see this schematic diagram of next generation 5G wireless networks. So now we are coming to the ISO OSA layers. So our topic is physical layer aspects. So we are coming into our topic actually, physical layer aspects. So you know about the OSA layers, 7 layers will be available. So in each and layer, every layer having some certain task. So the physical layer is the basic one. So about that data link is there, about that network layer, transport, session, presentation, and application layers are there. So here we are going to deal with bits, raw bits. So that bits will be combined. We are going to form the, we are going to generate the frames here. So if you generate the frames, if the frames are sending, before that we are going to add some of the bits and we are going to form the packets. So the packets we are going to transmit in case of network layer. So this is the layer responsible for routing protocols and all. So next we are using the TCP, transport layer. Here flow control and host-to-host communication will take place. So sync information, anything is there. So that sync information we are going to establish in the session layers. So any encryption and decryption, if you want, we have to establish in the presentation layer. So this is the end layer, that is the application layer. So the basic layer is the physical layer. Here we are going to deal with the bits. So if you want to establish communication between the nodes, so that is possible via physical layer only. That may be wired communication or wireless communication. So based on the channel, if it is there, if the cable is there, then we can call it as wired communication. If the channel is wireless, we are going to call it as wireless communication. So here we are going to transmit the information. If you want to transmit the information, what are the things required? First of all, what type of modulation we are using? The modulation comes under this category. So if you are changing the modulation, then your data rates will be different. So already we have seen from QPSK, QAM, 16 QAM, 32-bit QAM, 64-bit QAM and all. So if you are changing the modulation, your data rates will be different. At the same time, what type of source coding we are using, what type of channel coding we are using, what are the path loss models, what type of channel we are using, whether it is a relay channel or ration channel. So depends upon the channel, the data rates will be different and the bit error rates will be different. So channel codings will be different, source codings will be different. So everything will comes under this physical layer only. So whatever the new radio technology, nothing but backhaul we are saying, that is OFDM. So in case of 4G, so that also will come under this one only. So air interface technology, everything will come under this physical layer. So physical layer is going to handle different types of technical challenges also. That is interference. When you are going for small cells, how to handle the interference? Why? Because in case of 2G, 3G and 2G and before that, we are using the frequency reuse concept. So we are going to divide the clusters, cells into clusters, and we are going to assign the frequencies. We are going to reuse the frequencies. But when you come to 3G, we are discussing about the universal frequency reuse. So we are not going to use the clustering concept. We are going to use the entire frequencies in all the cells. That is called as universal frequency reuse. So that's why whatever the frequencies available, all the frequencies we are using in every cell. Because of that, we are providing the more data rates. So that is also responsible for the physical layer. So now we'll see one by one. Now we can compare the 4G with 5G. So previously we have compared LTE with LTE advanced. Now we are comparing LTE with 5G, new radio. NR means new radio. So in case of 4G, we are in a position to provide only 20 megahertz bandwidth. So here, already we have told you carrier aggregation is possible. So we are going to combine the carriers. We are going to combine the carriers and we are going to get them more data rates. Already carrier aggregation concept was introduced in LTE advanced itself. There we are in a position to provide up to 100 megahertz bandwidth. Here we are in a position to provide up to 200 megahertz bandwidth. As bandwidth is increasing, obviously what will happen? The data rates will be increasing. So here we are using 50 megahertz bandwidth and 200 megahertz bandwidth. So in case of this one, maximum CCs are 5 only. So here we are using 16 CCs. So subcarrier spacing. So here 15 kHz subcarrier spacing we are using. In case of new radio, the subcarrier spacing is 2 power n into 15 kHz. So we'll calculate this one also later slides. Here we are using 15 kHz subcarrier spacing. In case of LTE, in case of 5G new radio, we are using 2 power n into 15 kHz subcarrier spacing. So here we are using cyclic prefix OFDM for the downlink, SC OFDM for the uplink. So here also we are using cyclic prefix OFDM for downlink, and we are using DFT spread OFDM for uplink. DFT spread. This S stands for spread. Discrete Fourier transform spread OFDM for uplink. So the number of subcarriers here is 1200. The number of subcarriers here is 3300. So the sub frame length. In case of TDD, we are going to use frames. So this is 1 millisecond frame length. Here also same 1 millisecond length. So the latency if you see here, the 10 milliseconds latency, in case of 5G, already we have told you the latency will be very less. That is only 1 millisecond latency. So the slot length we are using is 7 symbols here with a 500 microseconds. Here 14 symbols we are using. So the type of channel coding we are using here is turbo coding. In case of 4G, we are using turbo coding for data, TBCC for control information. So in case of 5G, we are using polar codes for control information, LDPC codes for data transmission. So here there is no beamforming. Here we are using beamforming. So the massive MIMO we are speaking here, but still it was not implemented. So 8x8 only we are discussing. 8x8 MIMO, 8x8 MIMO. So here the reference signals are user specific, that is DMRS, and cell specific received signals. So here front loaded DMRS signals we are using. So duplexing scheme is full duplexing, frequency division duplexing here. Here we are using frequency division duplexing and static time division duplexing and dynamic time division duplexing also. Now you can see the subcarrier spacing calculation, small calculation here. So we have taken 20 megahertz bandwidth, that is for 4G. 20 megahertz bandwidth. Subcarrier spacing is 15 kHz. Same thing we have taken here, 15 kHz subcarrier spacing. So how many subcarriers we are going to take? 12 subcarriers normally. So 15 kHz into 12 subcarriers. Total 180 kHz. This 180 kHz will be taken as one resource block in case of LTE. So how many resource blocks will be there in this 20 megahertz bandwidth? You can calculate here. Out of 20 megahertz, 2 megahertz is for broadband. So I am not going to consider that 2 megahertz. Remaining 18 megahertz with 180 kHz resource blocks. Total 100 resource blocks are available. Previously, you have seen that slide also. In case of LTE features, so 20 megahertz bandwidth is possible. With that 20 megahertz, 100 resource blocks. This is the way we are going to calculate resource blocks. So total 12 subcarriers. One subcarrier, 100 resource. 12 subcarriers we are using here. So that means 1200 subcarriers, 1200 resource blocks we are going to use here in case of frequency domain. So this will be equal to one time slot in case of time domain. So if you are representing this one in the time domain, this is equal to one time slot. That is 1 millisecond time slot. So now you can see the waveform, numerology and frame structure. So here we are using scalable numerology. Slot duration also we are varying. So here we are using, along with static TDD, we are using dynamic time division duplexing also. So intercarrier subcarrier spacing, slot based versus non-slot based scheduling we are using in case of 5G. So you can see the what type of modulation we are using, what type of area interface technology we are using. In case of downlink, we are using cyclic prefix OFDM. In case of uplink, we are using cyclic prefix OFDM plus DFT spread OFDM. So CP OFDM, nothing but cyclic prefix OFDM, targeted at higher throughputs. DFTS OFDM targeted at power limited scenarios. So wherever power constraint is there, at that time we are going to use this one. So whenever you want high throughputs, we are going to use this one. So multiple access. So what is the multiple access for future? So in future, we are discussing about the non-orthogonal multiple access, NOMA. We used to call it as NOMA. So that was discussed in the release 15. So in case of 5G, already we have told you the bandwidth will be 400 MHz. If the bandwidth is 400 MHz, so the maximum of subcarriers, how many subcarriers is needed is 3300 to 4096. Previously, how many subcarriers we have used? In case of this 4G is 1200 subcarriers we have used. Now we are saying that in case of 5G, the number of subcarriers has been increased to 3300 to 4096. So FFT we are going to use here. So if you see the subcarrier spacing also. So this is the mu. Already we have told you the subcarrier spacing is here 2 power n into 15 kHz in case of 5G new radio. In case of 2 power n, I am using mu here. So as the mu value is changing from 0 to 5, the subcarrier spacing, delta F is nothing but subcarrier spacing. The subcarrier spacing is increasing. So the first three we are using for syncing less than 6 GHz band. If your bandwidth is more than 6 GHz, we are going to use this. So this is specified, but we are not using, not supporting. So these are the two things. First, mu 0, mu 1, mu 2 for less than 6 GHz. If it is greater than 6 GHz, we are using 3, 4, 5. So this is the time slots. Already we have seen the frequency division duplexing, that is but subcarrier spacing. If you are representing that one in terms of time division, so this is the time division duplexing. And time division slots. One slot is 0.5 milliseconds we have taken here. So 15 kHz, 30 kHz, 60 kHz, and 120 kHz. Previously we have seen. So this is the subcarrier spacing: 15 kHz, 30 kHz, 60 kHz, and 120 kHz. The subcarrier spacing is different. How many symbols we are going to transmit in case of OFDM we have shown here. All these are related with the physical layer issues. So physical layer is going to handle these frames, how to frame this, how to provide the subcarrier spacing, how to provide the resource blocks, the allocation, the resource allocation, and the interference management. Everything will come under this physical layer only. So one slot we are going to take 14 symbols in case of 15 kHz. So the subframe is 1 millisecond. Already we have told you 1 millisecond frame we are going to use. The frame is 10 milliseconds. The subframe is 1 millisecond. So this is the subframe. So one frame is 10 millisecond. Within that, one subframe is 1 millisecond. Within that, slots we are taking 14 symbols we are going to transmit. So if it is 30 kHz, this one. If it is 60 kHz, this one. If it is 120 kHz, you can see this one. How many slots we are going to transmit? So here, slot-based scheduling also possible because of more slots available. So slot-based and non-slot-based scheduling also available. So based on that, we have shown the number of OFDM symbols per slot. So for 15 kHz, 30 kHz, and 60 kHz, with a normal cyclic prefix, with extended cyclic prefix. So remaining 3, 4, 5 also. This is nothing but mu value. Already we have seen the mu value for 0 to 5. So number of OFDM symbols per slot. So here number of OFDM per subframe. So this is per slot, this is per subframe, this is per frame. So these are the, within the frame we have subframes, within the subframe we have slots. So based on the slots, we are going to do the scheduling here. Slot based scheduling and non-slot based scheduling. Both are possible in case of 5G. So here we are discussing about the beamforming also. So we are having different types of beamforming: analog beamforming, digital beamforming. Combining both, we used to call it as hybrid beamforming. So that is supporting in the 5G new radio. So similarly, sweeping also possible. We can able to sweep the beam. So when you are sweeping the beam, we are going to get some of the questions. How does user identifies the best beam to receive the best signals from the base station? So in which beam the user equipment has to connect with the base station. At the same time, best beam to receive from the, how does the base station identifies the best beam to receive from the user? So nothing but uplink. So how does beam forming affect the initial access procedure? So these are some of the questions we have to address when you are handling with the beam forming. So when you are using beam forming, beam swing transmission, nothing but synchronous signals we are transmitting. After that, you are sending the system information. Based on that, the random access channel will be allocated. So then we are going to transmit the random access response and system information. Then only the data and control channels will be allocated. So you can see the beam forming over here. So here the transmitted signal. So this is the user equipment. So if your beam is, you can see here, this is the received primary synchronous signals, secondary synchronous signals. So this is out of phase. So this beam is not aligned with this beam. So this transmission is not possible here. So you can see here. So this is aligned with this one. So the transmission is possible here. At the same time, uplink transmission also. So this is a downlink transmission. At the same time, uplink transmission also possible when these both are aligned. When both are aligned, then only the transmission will be possible. So PRACH is nothing but physical radio access channel. So what type of channel coding? Already I have told you, in case of channel coding, in case of 5G, we are going to use LDPC codes, at the same time polar codes. LDPC codes for data traffic and polar codes for control information. So what type of downlink channels, what type of uplink channels we have to use? So physical downlink scheduling channel, physical uplink scheduling channels we have to use here. How to address the latency also. So we are saying about MIMO, massive MIMO. What are the differences between sub-6 GHz band and millimeter wave bands with respect to MIMO? So these are the questions we have to address when you are going for these advanced technologies. So you can see the scheduling here. So this is PDSCH scheduling, nothing but physical layer processing. So downlink scheduling, this one. So this is the uplink scheduling. So this part is related with downlink scheduling. This part is related with uplink scheduling. So what are there available in the downlink scheduling? So cyclic redundancy check we are attaching. After that, LDPC base graph selection, nothing but channel coding, LDPC codes we are using. So code block segmentation, LDPC encoding, rate matching, code block concatenation, scrambling if anything is required, modulation, layer mapping, everything is done in the downlink channel. So this is under only physical layer. Physical layer downlink channel, we have to perform all these tasks. Finally, we have to map to the antenna port. Finally, we are going to mapping to the resource blocks. Already we have discussed about the resource blocks. Within the resource blocks, these many things has to happen within the bits. So at the same time, PUSCH, physical uplink scheduling channel. So in case of physical uplink, same thing, cyclic redundancy attachment, LDPC, code blocks, LDPC encoding, rate matching, scrambling, modulation, antenna port mapping, mapping to resource blocks. Here, this is optional. Transform precoding is optional, and data and control multiplexing, this is extra here. So this is the case of uplink, this is the case of downlink. So here, when we are going for 5G, the traditional scheme, that is nothing but previously we are base station centric. Now there is no base station centric. So many cells came. So this is a base station centric. One base station will be there. That base station will be connected with the users. This base station will be connected with the MSC. So this is a traditional mobile communication scenario. So this is not at all possible when you are coming with this 5G. So here we have to implement the hybrid radio access networks. So traditional tower will be there, nothing but macro cell will be there. We have to establish the small cell base stations, nothing but millimeter wave base stations. So when you are going for millimeter wave base station, the number of base stations we have to increase, because we are going to deal with the high frequencies. As high frequencies, the absorption will be more. So the signal penetration will be more. So we cannot able to transmit for longer distance. That's why obviously we have to increase the number of base stations. So this base station has to communicate with this main station. So the traditional network has been changed. So still we are complicating it. You can see that here. With this only the beamforming is possible, as multiple antennas are there. We are going to provide we are going to align these antenna patterns in a unidirectional pattern, and we are going to get the pencil beams over here. Then only the directional beamforming is possible because of the massive MIMO, multiple antennas. So we are complicating now the heterogeneous scenario. Along with your base station, conventional base station, we are incorporating picocells, femtocells, relays, radio resource heads. Together, we are going to call it as heterogeneous networks. Previously, your network is homogeneous networks. Now, we are discussing about the heterogeneous networks. Different sizes, different protocols, different strategies. So that's why we are going to call it as heterogeneous networks. Still, we are going to complicate it. You can see the scenario here. So in case of here, your conventional cognitive base station network is here, conventional base station, along with cognitive radio network, along with your home Ethernets, nothing but Wi-Fi routers, femtocells, next MIMO networks, mobile femtocell networks, like that, radio resource sets, all together we are going to implement. Then only it is possible to provide this much of services in case of 5G. So when we are incorporating these many things, how to handle the interference, at the same time how to establish the communication, at the same time how to establish the handoff, how to provide the resources, everything is challenging only. So you can see the comparison over here. The small cells, what we are using, the macro cells, small cells, and femtocells. So previously, it is going to, the size of this one is, traditional base station is 50 feet to 200 feet. In case of femtocells, so it is like as a paper book, a small book size. So this is like as a pizza box, small cells. So we are going to incorporate this one in the cricket stadiums, and at the same time crowded places. If any function is happening, if any cricket match is happening, so in the stadiums and all, we are going to incorporate. In the indoor auditoriums, we are going to incorporate the small cells. These femtocells are meant for home applications and business applications. So the cost also same thing. So the establishment cost is very high here. At the same time, operational cost also very high. So this is around only $100. The expenditure will becomes minimized. So this was going to be purchased by the user. So if a user is purchasing, the operational maintenance, at the same time, the capital expenditure also decreasing. But the problem is, whenever user is switching on this, already the macro cell will be there in that, between the macro cell and femtocell, there is a chance of getting interference. We have to handle that interference by using the different algorithms. So these are the different interference possible scenarios in case of femtocell networks. So a macro base station is there, a femto base stations are here, a femto base stations are here. So what are the different possible scenarios? This macro base station can give the interference. So you can see here, this is the aggressor, this is the victim. Macro user is giving the interference to the femto base station. Macro base station is giving the interference to the femto user. Femto user is giving the interference to the macro base station. Femto base station is giving the interference to the macro user. Femto user is giving the interference to the femto base station. Femto base station is giving the interference to the femto user. These are the 6 possible interference scenarios we have to address when you are going for the small cells. So this is not a simple thing. At the same time, handoff issues will come. At the same time, resource allocation issues will come. So everything we have to address. All these are related to the availability. So this is we are going for 5G when we have to move for millimeter waves. Already we have discussed about this. Directional air interfaces we are using. So slot division multiple access direction antennas we are using. Already we have discussed about this beamforming also. So you can see the beamforming. Omnidirectional antenna pattern will be like this when we are going for directional antenna pattern. So in case of here, the base station is in a position to identify the user and it is going to align the beam in this particular direction only. Instead of transmitting the radiation in the entire coverage region in the omnidirectional pattern, it is going to confine the entire radiation in a particular direction so that it can able to provide the service to the user without providing any interference. So the beam is different here. Whatever the beam is here, that will be different. So this beam is not giving interference to this. Similarly, the beam is not providing interference to this. Otherwise, you can see here, in case of traditional pattern, the user which is located in this one is getting interference from this base station 2. That is not there here because there is direction antennas. So there is no direction here. There is no radiation from this second base station to this user. So only this user is getting the signal from this base station 1 only. Because of this directional patterns, we are not going to get the interference. So that is also one of the advantages. But here the problems will come. The problem is how to steer the beam, how to identify the users, how much signals we have to provide. So that many issues. Already we have given the questions also. So here you can see the conventional beamforming in the horizontal direction. So it is going to steer the beam in the horizontal direction. In case of 3D beamforming, we are going to identify the single users. So each slot is one user if you think. We are going to identify the user and we are going to transmit to that user only, particular user. The intended user only will going to the service here. But in case of here, we are going to identify the multiple users. So multiple users are located in multiple locations. We are going to provide the service to the users by identifying them. So that is 3D beamforming with multiple user equipments. So all these are beamforming, hybrid beamforming. So that beamforming is possible because of maximum. So when multiple antennas are there, all antennas are providing the radiation. So by providing the some alignment, we are going to confine the entire radiation in a particular direction. Instead of providing the omnidirectional radiation, we are confining to a particular direction and we are going to give the service. So this is a vertical beamforming. We are going to do the beamforming in the vertical direction. This is the horizontal one. So like this, different types of beamformings are available. So now, along with your time division duplexing and frequency division duplexing, in case of 5G new radio, we are discussing about full duplex communication. Previously, FDD and TDD are two half duplex communications. So two half duplex we have used it previously. Now we are discussing about the full duplex communication in case of 5G and new radio. So I am going to show the comparison over here. So already 630. So because of this full duplex radio technology, the spectrum efficiency is going to be increased a lot. Why? Because we are going to use the frequencies at a time. The simultaneous transmission is possible in case of full duplex. I think everyone knows in case of full duplex, able to communicate from the both sides. So previously we have used either FDD or TDD. So FDD or TDD is half duplex. Two half duplex we are using. Because of that, so at a time we cannot able to transmit. So there is a separate transmission we have used. Here, because of the full duplex communication, the spectrum efficiency is going to be affected a lot. So there is a lot more improvement in the spectrum efficiency. So you can see here. So this is the BT1 full duplex communication. So bidirectional transmission. So you can see the arrow marks. Bidirectional transmission. This is unidirectional transmission. Unidirectional transmission. So this is also a bidirectional transmission. So bidirectional transmission and unidirectional transmission both are possible in case of indicators. So there are comparisons between the FDD and full duplex. Ultimately, what we are going to say is full duplex is possible because of channel reciprocity. So what are the channels we have used previously? Same channels we are going to use here, but uplink and downlink we are going to do at a time. So that is possible because of channel reciprocity. So here, entire bandwidth is used for both things simultaneously because of the spectral efficiency. So once you can go through this, the type of duplexing delay, out of date CSID, nothing but interference issue we are going to address. Delay will be less here. Godwin interference will be less here in case of full duplexing. So that is the advantage when you are going for full duplexing technologies. So for 5G, other we are saying that we are using only OFDM only. So what will be the technologies for the future? So there are different interface technologies were discussed in the literature. That is interleave division multiple access, sparse port multiple access, generalized frequency division multiple access, filter banks multi-caps. These are the non-orthogonal multiple access schemes. So we may use this one for the future. That is nothing but next generation technologies. So already we have discussed IoT. So this is the backbone for 5G. So here we are discussing about the smartphones, smart cities, smart vehicles, smart healthcare, smart grids, smart farming, smart logistics, smart industries. Everywhere smart we are saying. That means we are going to deal with multiple sensors over here, the communication between the sensors. So that is done via Wi-Fi, nothing but the internet only. So that is IoT. So now we are saying not IoT, we are saying about IoE, Internet of Everything. So everything is connected via internet only. That is possible. Then only the 5G implementation completely it is possible. So IoT is nothing but anything, anyone, anytime, and any place. So this is a simple way to describe IoT. So these are the some of the references for this presentation. Thank you. Any queries? Oh, you can ask me now.
Open for Q&A session. Participants may unmute your mic or use the chat box for the clarification of doubts and queries. Thank you so much, sir. The session was indeed informative.